Good evening, we're back to the Riga TechCast, and today we have Andris as one very important person. Andris, why you are an important person? What do you think?
Well, I like to talk about tech. I like to talk with other tech people. I wouldn't call myself important, but I'm happy to be here to talk with you.
Cool, great.
Yeah.
What have you done in your life? How you got this far? A few highlights from your biggest, moments.
Yeah, well, I'm always like to solve issues, solve problems, so that's how I got into programming. I just like to tinker around things, so that's how my programming career started. And afterwards, I kind of find that technology is not always the problem. The problem often is the translation between the business and the technology. So therefore I kind of assumed the role of this technical director and a long time ago now because I had this ability and this need to translate from business to technology and vice versa. Why we need to write tests, why we need to write this nice code, and then why we can't deliver everything today, and so forth. So that's been my role to kind of combine these two worlds.
So how do you do it? Have you had any specific training to become this translator, or it's just your life experience? Where do you learn such things?
I think that's just life experience. I don't have any special training in that. It's just I like to learn things very thoroughly, very deep, and understand how everything is put together. And I like people. I like talking to people. So a lot of engineers are avoidant of conversations. I'm not. So maybe that's why I kind of gravitated towards this kind of role.
Yeah, and that's why you are here today.
Yeah.
So let's say I'm one of those engineers who is not enjoying the conversation, and I am struggling with explanation. Whatever. What do we go with? I need to explain to end customer why it is not a good idea to put a lot of buttons on the screen which do the same thing, which is illogical, but the customer is asking, I want 5 buttons of that, just to make sure that people can find it. And it's my problem, I need to explain it. Yeah. But I'm struggling. I'm like, I don't know, they're just stupid customers. What do you do?
Well, first of all, it's important to understand that not everyone has the same level of knowledge in every topic. Everyone has their own background, their own information, what they are in which they operate in, their own experience, of course. So you need to kind of know who you're talking with. Like if this person is technical, if this person comes from a design perspective, So it's important to find this common language.
How do you learn that?
Well, you ask the person. What is your background? First, you need to know who you're talking with. Like you can't just assume everyone is a programmer, assume that everyone is a UX expert, because they're not. Of course, they come from business, most likely, or something, right? If they're your client, so you just ask them.
Okay. Step 1: learning. With whom are you talking? What's step 2?
Exactly. Step 2 is understand the basic need. Why the buttons are needed there, because no one just wants buttons, right? Everything has a purpose, everything has a need, and we often don't talk about why, because if we're talking with a technical person, a lot of people just say, I need to do this, you need to do that, when it's going to be ready, right? First, what we do first is just stop. First, we need to understand why we want to build this, because there's a lot of different solutions for the same problem.
And how do you identify that? How do you get that information? With what type of, you will say, ask, what type of questions?
What type of questions? If we're talking about buttons, why we need these buttons? What will they accomplish? What is the business reasoning behind them? Will we sell something if they are pressed? Do we need? Are all of those buttons in the same value for the end customer? So you try to understand the problem scope, so to say. You know, if you can't answer why, that means you haven't gotten to the root cause of things. So you just ask and be annoying, and that's fine. It's all right. that's a big part of programmers' job, is to understand the problem scope. It's not just to solve problems.
Okay, so let's say I went to the customer.
Sure.
I asked 5 whys. You taught me a methodology of 5 whys, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they just want it. They say they like it that way. I gave up. The customer says, no, I want it. So we are discussing what to do next.
Yeah.
Okay.
And at some point, you need to realize that you don't necessarily are right. Maybe the customer is right. So that's where, A/B testing is a good opportunity. When you convince client, all right, let's test it out, but let's test it out in the cheapest form and way possible, you know. And if you know the problem scope, if you have gotten with the whys, you know, and you said, then test it out. Put those 5 buttons and put 2 buttons and make A/B tests and prove that 2 buttons are better option than 5 buttons. Most clients really like this idea of testing of data. Most people respond well to information, you know, and there's this selling point that you will gather more information, or maybe I already have information why 5 buttons are wrong, you know. But I see it oftentimes that developers think that they know everything. But because this is a common bias, that if we think that if we know that we're smart in one field, we think that we're smart in every field. But programmers are bad doctors, and they're bad in business a lot of times. So we need to kind of step back and understand that maybe they have a point.
Okay. Before we allow Mārtiņš to give his opinion, Mārtiņš, who are you? Where do you come from? Are you a doctor?
Not yet. Hey, I'm Mārtiņš. I come from a company called Sonarworks. I'm one of co-founders and the CPO, so I take care of the product and development by extension of that function. And we build software products for music creators. We build tools that music creators use to create music, and we help music creators with those products.
Do you use any A/B testing techniques?
Sure. We do that in our website, where we care about, we sell product directly to the end user through our website, among other things. And we do use sometimes A/B testing in our website when we want to find out which exact setup helps our customers find their way better to the store and make a purchase.
Okay, great.
But we also do a lot of user testing of the products, and we listen to feedback from the products. And as an organization, we have a separate product role and engineering role, so we do try to keep developers informed about what's going on and why we're building things the way we build, and they do have great ideas more often than not, but we also do try to keep the decision making about product in the product function, and keep those two separate. That's often the case.
That's great. Did you tell me what does Cube Systems do?
I don't know.
I think you didn't.
No.
What does Cube Systems?
Cube Systems builds custom web solutions. So we mostly focus on self-service portals for some of the biggest companies in Latvia, but not only that, we also work all around in Europe, and we have our own little startups here and there as well. We focus on the end user experience.
Okay, so we're back to the customer, which wants 5 buttons on the screen, which do the same thing, they look the same. The customer has convinced us, me as a poor developer, you're product owner, you're going to be a technology architect. As usually, two people I report to. Now the customer is asking, how much is that gonna cost? How do we estimate this thing? What's your approach and your expertise in your companies and so on? Who wants to go first?
Estimation is always hard.
I'm gonna tell that to my customer.
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, I'm glad that you already called it estimation, in the sense that we are not promising anything, right? We are saying that this is what we think it's going to cost.
Let's
right?
roll back. So the customer asked me how much is this gonna cost, and they want it done by end of year.
Yeah. Oh, there are many methods how you estimate things, right? You try analogies. If you have experience in the same functionality before, of course, it's very easy to estimate because you just kind of use the same situation as well, right? If this is a novel problem, as the word implies, it's something new that we don't know yet, so we only can estimate. Of course, you have to give some kind of answer, especially in Latvia. No customer, at least of ours, will just write you a blank check and say, yeah, you run with it, do whatever. Everyone wants estimations, of course. That's natural. So you just use your best engineers for estimations, and you estimate. There's like a bottom-up approach where you try to cut things very tiny, and then you kind of sum it up, and then the other one when you try to estimate as big as possible in weeks, and then you see if everything kind of fits in that estimation. So there are many different methodologies. Also in Cube we use different kinds of approaches, but we always use multiple people for estimation. So that's because on average people are wrong less times. So yeah.
Okay, and then Mārtiņš comes into the room
I
and
tend to agree. I mean, you need to break the project. You need to plan a bit for what exactly the project is going to be. You need to have some major blocks, and then you need to use the experience in your team to estimate what comes up. And then usually it's a smart idea to add some buffer, up to 2 times whatever estimate you came up with.
2 times. All right.
And then you see how the conversation with the client goes.
You're a product-based company.
We're a product-based company, but we have had the experience of working also with supplying kind of projects to bigger customers, where they are then paying up some NRE costs, and then it always comes down to, okay, we need to set a budget because people work with budgets, and then we need to come up with estimates and sell the offer.
Okay. What's your take on agile budgeting?
Haven't seen it working for the people who actually have the money. I mean, implementation is agile, but ultimately, I mean, it's a game. I haven't found. At some point, it ultimately, I don't think is reasonable to play the game, because if you're somebody who owns the problem and who has to solve it, then you kind of also have to. I mean, the company has to have a budget, right? And then at some point, the spreadsheet has to come together for some CFO or somebody, and they need to be able to kind of control the whole thing and call shots of what the organization cannot afford. And then it all cascades down into projects need budgets, instead of like somebody writing a blank check and say, hey, we know you're good guys, just run along and do your best, and we know it's going to be what it's going to be, but we know it's going to be the best. So I don't even think it works inside an organization once it becomes sufficiently big. Like if we're 2 founders of a new company and it is just 2 of us, then we can kind of take that approach. But as soon as you're talking about 50, 100, 1,000 people working together, that kind of approach, I mean, there are all kinds of agency problems that come into play. So you kind of need a budget, and then ultimately you need to call a shot, you need to agree on something, and then you have to see whether that works out. And then if you have to go back too often to say, hey, sorry, we misestimated, the budget is going to be 3x, then at some point you don't have a good reputation. So you need to make bets, and then you earn reputation for making them right. And then
Yeah. Andris, what's your take on that? Do you do agile contracting or agile budgeting? Like, I'm the customer, I come and I'm like, I want to build this thing, I want to have it tagged as agile, this is my fixed amount of money, and you need to fit in till the end of the year. Do agile. What do you do?
Well, we do that. We do what we internally call corporate agile.
Okay.
Because we use still corporate language to kind of explain things. Because of course, most people have this idea that agile is like do whatever, you know. You don't control anything, you know. But you do control. Like you have budget, but and you have problem, but you don't. You can't have fixed functionality inside of that. So you kind of try to see if you can estimate, but we can solve this problem. What I like is if you can solve this problem with half the budget you have, and then the second half of budget is just for nice things and just for misestimations and things like that. You can't promise everything. You can't promise time, money, and features at the same time. You can only have two, right? So Agile is for, I can promise you budget and time, not features. So and then you try to make a solution as quickly as possible, and you continuously re-estimate everything. And you have this huge control of this week we still think we're right, next week we still think we're right, and another week we think we need 10% more money, to everything. You continuously implement things and you continuously re-estimate, and then it can work. If you don't estimate anything and you don't control anything and you just say, let's meet, whenever, then of course you will be over budget and nothing's going to be complete.
Okay. All right. Wrapping up. So a short question, a simple question. So how is artificial intelligence now changing your way of life with these topics? Has it changed anything?
Sure, we have a product based on
AI. Tell me more.
We decided we want to step into this, and we built and launched a product for music creators, which is a voice changer for singers. So basically, if you are a producer and you're working on a track, then chances are you would want some backing vocals, for example, and then if it's just you, then you have a chance of either bringing in some singers, or maybe you can sing the back vocal and then change it into a different voice and kind of tune it around so you can actually have it ready. So we've launched that product. It has actually very good positive reviews. We've even had some albums people send us that they've already made with the stuff. So we are into it, and then as a tool for us as people working for the company, again, I think it's also a major kind of productivity booster. So we're trying to explore all the angles how we can leverage our capacity to work faster, do more with the same amount of resources.
Do I get 100 artificial versions of my voice, or I can sing like a Celine Dion?
There is, in the product we have a set amount of presets, and then you have to choose between those. In the future you might get Celine Dion as well. But
how's the copywriting happening now? There have been discussions around.
I think it will be. I think it will be 5 to 10 to 15 years while people work out how copywriting works in this AI environment. I think it's going to be. Music copywriting is already a pretty tough place with a lot of complexity involved, and I think this is just going to add to that complexity.
Okay, cool, very interesting. But cube systems, artificial intelligence, estimating, does it fit somehow, somewhere?
It does fit. We use it, of course, internally, and adoption rate between programmers is high. Almost everyone uses it. We haven't automated any programmer yet because
all right,
it's
good
very,
news.
Very
good
far
news.
from that, yes. But of course, it's a good kind of tool. It helps you write quicker. It helps you check things. Of course, we have implemented in many tools as well as a content generation tool, basically. But it's
what content do you generate?
Our clients sometimes generate content, and we just add it in. But AI is a tool, and it always is somewhere in the background. It generates code, it generates text, but it's always is checked by humans. Like none of our clients, I don't think in foreseeable future will allow AI to end customer. Because it's still very it's not predictable. It's by design. It's you don't know what it's going to produce.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this time for real, wrapping it up. Could you please explain me how do quantum mechanics work?
It doesn't.
All right. Well, thank you for coming. I think that was it. So everyone's into artificial intelligence instead. All right. Thank you. Any last words?
No. Cool conversation. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. And bye.